How does a fighter jet that first roared into the skies over 50 years ago still dominate the battlefield today? In an era of stealth bombers, AI drones, and cutting-edge fifth-generation fighters, most aircraft from the 1970s belong in museums. But not this one. The F-15 Strike Eagle didn't just survive the test of time. It evolved into one of the most dangerous, heavily armed, and downright fastest jets the world has ever seen. But here's the real question. With modern threats rising, can the newly upgraded F-15EX Eagle II truly keep America dominant in the skies? Or is it fighting a losing battle against stealth, drones, and sixth-generation warfare? Let's dive into the shocking evolution of the Strike Eagle and why it still has enemies looking over their shoulder. Half a century later, the story of the F-15 didn't begin with sleek blueprints or high-tech prototypes. It started with frustration and fear. During the Vietnam War, the United States military realized their existing fighter jets weren't enough to guarantee air superiority. The Navy and the Air Force were locked in a bitter rivalry, each pushing their own vision for the future of American air power. But behind the scenes, that competition was wasting precious time, and the enemy wasn't waiting. Then came Robert McNamara, the U.S. Secretary of Defense at the time. He had a radical idea: force both the Navy and the Air Force to share as many aircraft as possible, cutting costs and creating a one-size-fits-all fighter. Sounds efficient, but the reality? Compromise. Pilots and engineers on both sides warned that no single design could master every mission. But McNamara pushed ahead, determined to streamline military aviation, even if that meant sacrificing performance. By 1965, the cracks were showing. The Air Force needed a fast, agile, affordable tactical fighter to replace aging aircraft like the F-100 Super Sabre. But budgets were tight, and expectations were sky-high. Some officials floated the idea of buying lightweight Northrop F-5 fighters as a stopgap. Others wanted something bold, a next-generation aircraft that could crush enemy fighters in speed and maneuverability. But to keep the project alive, they made one crucial concession: reduce the top speed goal from Mach 3 to Mach 2.5. It was a gamble, but they had no idea how urgently that gamble would pay off. Because just 2 years later, in 1967, the Soviet Union unveiled the MiG-25, a beast of a jet capable of reaching Mach 2.8 with wings designed for extreme high-altitude performance. The U.S. military was stunned. Suddenly, their experimental FX fighter program looked outdated before the first prototype even left the drawing board. Panic swept through the Pentagon. Had they already fallen behind? But what happened next? It didn't just change the course of U.S. aviation. It rewrote the rules of air combat. Faced with the terrifying speed and raw power of the Soviet MiG-25, the United States scrambled to respond. They couldn't afford to fall behind. Not in the skies. Not during the Cold War. The answer? An urgent, no-compromise fighter program known as FX, the Future Experimental Fighter. And this time, the gloves were off. The Air Force laid down strict, aggressive demands. A jet with a maximum takeoff weight of 40,000 pounds. Twin engines for speed and safety. Blistering Mach 2.5 performance, and a thrust-to-weight ratio so strong the plane could essentially defy gravity. They wanted dominance. They wanted a legend. By September 1968, America's biggest aerospace giants scrambled to compete for the contract. Fairchild Republic, North American Rockwell, and McDonnell Douglas each presented their vision for the ultimate air superiority machine. But by the end of 1969, the choice was clear. McDonnell Douglas delivered a fighter so aggressive, so streamlined, it felt like a rocket with wings. Their design shared the twin-tail DNA of the Navy's F-14 Tomcat, but featured a fixed wing for simplicity, durability, and brutal efficiency. The project skipped much of the traditional prototype phase. This was full speed-ahead development, with no room for error and no time for second-guessing. The result? 2 test aircraft, the single-seat F-15A and the 2-seat TF-15, later renamed the F-15B. Both were powered by newly developed Pratt and Whitney F-100 engines, pushing an unheard-of combat thrust-to-weight ratio of 1.17 to 1. That meant the jet produced more thrust than its total weight, giving it the ability to rocket skyward at impossible speeds. To arm it, Engineers originally eyed an experimental 25mm Ford Philco cannon, but technical problems sent that dream crashing down. Instead, they went with a proven classic, the 20mm M61 Vulcan Gatling gun, an icon of American firepower. When the F-15 roared into the skies for its first flight in 1972, and the F-15B followed in 1973, the world took notice. This wasn't just another fighter. It was a statement of raw power. With unmatched agility, the Eagle could pull brutal turns without shedding speed, and few aircraft could match its ability to claw up to 30,000 feet in just 60 seconds. In 122 seconds, it could hit 65,000 feet, numbers so extreme that people started asking, are they building a plane or a rocket? But the F-15's true legend was only beginning, and nobody expected what this jet would survive next. The F-15 quickly built a reputation as a powerhouse in the sky, but its true legacy wasn't just about raw speed or firepower. It was about survival against impossible odds. That reputation became legendary thanks to one of the most unbelievable incidents in modern aviation history. In 1983, an Israeli Air Force pilot named Zivi Nadivi took off in an F-15D, the two-seat variant of the Eagle, during a routine training exercise. What happened next? Nobody could have scripted it. Mid-flight, Nadivi's F-15 collided with an A for Skyhawk. The A-4 was shredded instantly. The pilot ejected, but Nadivi's jet spiraled into chaos. His right wing? Gone. Torn off in the collision. Under normal circumstances, that's a death sentence for any pilot. But this wasn't a normal aircraft. It was an F-15. With nothing but sheer instinct and a powerful afterburner, Nadivi pushed the engines to their absolute limit. Against all odds, the Eagle stabilized, limping back toward base, flying with only one wing. At double the normal landing speed, he brought the crippled jet down safely at Ramon Air Base, shocking engineers, pilots, and the entire aviation world. The F-15 had done the impossible. That moment cemented the Eagle's reputation as more than just fast. It was nearly indestructible. Nicknamed the American muscle car with wings, the F-15 wasn't sleek and stealthy like future jets, but it was brutally effective. Early models ran on Pratt and Whitney F-100 engines, pumping out 25,000 pounds of thrust each, more than enough to outpace almost anything in the sky. But the upgrades didn't stop there. Today's F-15s use the monstrous General Electric F-110G 129 turbofan engines, each delivering over 29,000 pounds of thrust with afterburner engaged. It's not just fast, it's one of the fastest fighter jets ever created. And here's the real jaw-dropper. Despite decades of technological leaps, the F-15 is still quicker than almost every modern fighter. The stealthy F-22 Raptor? Slower. The F-35 Lightning II? Slower. The F-16, F-18, even the iconic F-14 Tomcat? All left in the dust. The Eagle wasn't just a Cold War relic. It became the fastest, most aggressive American fighter jet ever built. A machine designed in the 1970s, still flying circles around today's competition. But as impressive as that was, nobody expected the Eagle to return in the 21st century, completely reborn as a next-generation powerhouse. For most fighter jets, a half-century career is unheard of. Aircraft get replaced, scrapped, or museum-bound as technology advances. But not the F-15. Instead of fading into history, this legendary jet evolved, re-emerging as the F-15EX Eagle II, a fighter that blends battlefield experience with modern, high-tech dominance. It's not just a reboot. It's an entirely new beast wrapped in the familiar silhouette of an old-school air superiority fighter. The Eagle II traces its roots to the F-15E Strike Eagle, the ground attack variant that added versatility and range to the classic airframe. But the latest version takes that evolution to an entirely different level. It borrows heavily from export variants built for allies like Saudi Arabia, combining years of real-world combat data with next-gen systems. Boeing's engineers didn't start from scratch. They took a proven platform and pushed it to extremes, transforming the F-15 into a fighter ready for modern warfare. So, what makes the F-15EX different? Everything under the hood has been overhauled. It now runs on the brutal General Electric F-110G 129 engines, each packing over 29,000 pounds of thrust, giving it raw speed and insane power for dogfights or high-altitude sprints. But that's just the start. The cockpit is no longer filled with old analog dials. It's a sleek, futuristic command center featuring a massive flat-panel display, cutting-edge avionics, and a digital joint helmet-mounted cueing system. Pilots don't just fly the Eagle II. They wear it like an extension of their own body. Behind the scenes, the F-15EX bristles with electronic warfare capabilities, once reserved for stealth platforms. Its updated radar, the APG-82ASA, provides superior target tracking and engagement at long distances. The digital fly-by-wire control system replaces old mechanical linkages, improving stability and unlocking additional weapon stations on the wings. And with the APAW suite, the Eagle passive-active warning survivability system, this fighter can jam enemy radar, detect incoming threats, and survive in contested airspace. Throw in the Legion pod with infrared search and track capabilities, and the Eagle II suddenly isn't just fast. It's smart, connected, and deadly. But as impressive as those upgrades are, the real game changer isn't in the avionics or engines, it's in the weapons bay. And that's where the Eagle II turns into an absolute nightmare for anyone brave enough to challenge it. Speed and technology mean nothing without firepower. And this is where the F-15EX Eagle II truly steps into legendary territory. Unlike most modern fighters, which sacrifice weapons load for stealth, the Eagle II leans fully into brute force. This jet isn't sneaking past enemy lines. It's showing up, fully armed, daring anyone to challenge it. With 12 hardpoints and nearly 30,000 pounds of munitions, the F-15EX isn't just a fighter. It's an airborne weapons truck ready to deliver chaos wherever needed. A typical Eagle II loadout reads like a nightmare for enemy pilots. 9 Sidewinder and AIM, 120 AMRAAM missiles, some of the deadliest air-to-air weapons in existence, give it the ability to dominate the skies in a dogfight or from beyond visual range. But it doesn't stop there. The Eagle II can also carry the AGM-158JSSM, a stealthy, precision-guided cruise missile designed to obliterate high-value targets on the ground. Add in AGM-88 HARMs for suppressing enemy radar and air defenses, plus the cutting-edge AGM-183 RRW, America's hypersonic missile program. And suddenly, the Eagle II isn't just defending airspace, it's reshaping the battlefield. And the bombs. The Eagle II brings an entire arsenal of them, from the massive GBU-31 and GBU-38 dams to the precision-targeted GBU-39 small-diameter bombs. This fighter can strike-hardened bunkers, mobile targets, or enemy infrastructure with pinpoint accuracy. It's like having a bomber's payload packed into a fast, maneuverable fighter jet, something that's nearly unheard of in modern aviation. But the rumors are where things get even crazier. Whispers from inside defense circles suggest the Eagle II can be armed with an unprecedented payload. 16 AIM, 120 AMRAAMs for AIM, 9 Sidewinders, and 2 AGM-88 HARMs, all on one aircraft. That's an air-to-air loadout so overwhelming, it borders on excessive, designed to flood enemy defenses with missiles and overwhelm even the most advanced opponents. While those configurations aren't officially confirmed, the Eagle II's design makes it clear. This jet isn't here to play fair, it's here to dominate. And amidst all that modern firepower, one piece of history remains untouched: the iconic 20mm M61A1 Vulcan Gatling gun. With 500 rounds of armor-piercing, high-explosive ammunition, it serves as a brutal reminder that sometimes, old-school firepower still has a place in modern combat. Up close or from miles away, the F-15EX carries the tools to strike, defend, and overwhelm, no stealth required. But with all this firepower, there's one question the Eagle II can't avoid. Can it truly survive in a world where stealth, drones, and sixth-generation fighters are rewriting the rules of warfare? In a world obsessed with stealth and next-generation drones, you might wonder, where does a heavyweight like the F-15EX fit in? After all, the Eagle II isn't stealthy like the F-22 Raptor or the F-35 Lightning II. It doesn't need to be. The F-15EX carves out its place by doing what those stealth fighters can't: carrying massive payloads, flying longer, and hitting harder, all while supporting the stealth fleet from behind the scenes. The Eagle II is designed to be the muscle, the backup, the heavy hitter in a mixed-force battlefield. It may not sneak past enemy radar, but it can overwhelm, outgun, and outlast nearly anything that crosses its path. The U.S. Air Force knows this, which is why the Eagle II is being deployed strategically. The first F-15EX was delivered to the 142nd Wing in Portland, Oregon, marking the beginning of a quiet but powerful shift in America's air dominance strategy. Instead of retiring the entire F-15 fleet, the Air Force is using the Eagle II to replace the aging F-15C squadrons, keeping that irreplaceable speed and firepower in the skies, while newer stealth platforms like the F-22 and F-35 handle the initial penetration missions. It's a perfect partnership. The stealth fighters open the door, and the Eagle II kicks it down. New squadrons are already forming in California and Louisiana, with bases like Fresno Air National Guard Base and Naval Air Station Joint Reserve Base New Orleans preparing to house entire fleets of Eagle IIs. Overseas, the strategy is even more direct. Kadena Air Base in Okinawa, Japan, is getting 2 Eagle II squadrons to fill the gap left by retiring F-15C divided by D units. These forward-deployed Eagles are a clear signal. The U.S. isn't backing down from its commitments in the Pacific. They're not waiting for stealth alone to hold the line. They're sending in the heavy cavalry. And that's exactly what the Eagle II is, a frontline, missile-hauling, territory-defending war machine. It can enforce no-fly zones, defend air bases, and carry outsized weapons that stealth fighters simply can't manage. It's not here to sneak past radar. It's here to remind the world that overwhelming firepower still works. But even as the Eagle II rolls out across these key bases, one major question remains. Is there enough room, budget, or time to keep expanding this fleet? Or is the clock already ticking toward its replacement? For all its firepower and legendary status, the F-15EX Eagle II faces a battle that has nothing to do with dogfights or missiles. The fight for funding. As powerful as the Eagle II is, modern military budgets are stretched thin, and new priorities keep piling up. The Air Force originally wanted 144 of these new fighters to replace aging F-15CS, boost air superiority capabilities, and reinforce key regions. But reality hit hard. Rising costs, shifting strategic goals, and the relentless push toward sixth-generation fighters have already slashed those numbers down to just 98 confirmed aircraft. And make no mistake, the Eagle II isn't cheap. With each jet priced at around $87.7 million, including its advanced engines, radars, and electronic warfare systems, it's approaching the cost of an F-35. For some critics, that raises uncomfortable questions. If the price tags are similar, shouldn't the Air Force focus entirely on stealth and next-gen platforms? Others argue the Eagle II fills a crucial gap, bringing raw speed, payload capacity, and versatility the F-35 can't match, especially when overwhelming firepower is more valuable than stealth. But beyond the money, the clock is ticking. The U.S. military is racing toward a future built around sixth-generation fighters, stealth bombers like the B-21 Raider, and fleets of autonomous drones operating under collaborative combat programs. The recently launched Next Generation Air Dominance (NGAD) program promises game-changing technologies, and the Air Force's NAD initiative, aimed at rebooting light tactical aircraft, shows they're hedging their bets with multiple options for future air superiority. Yet rumors persist that the Eagle II program could expand beyond its current limits. Some defense insiders suggest the Air Force might quietly push the fleet to 150, maybe even 200 aircraft over the next decade, depending on global threats and rising tensions, especially in the Indo-Pacific. With peer adversaries investing heavily in hypersonics, drones, and stealth, the U.S. needs every advantage, and proven platforms like the Eagle II offer a shortcut to maintaining dominance without reinventing the wheel. But here's the real question. Is it wise to invest more in a fighter born from 1970s designs, no matter how modern the upgrades? Or should every dollar be fueling the leap to sixth-generation warfare, where AI, autonomous swarms, and radar-evading tech rewrite the playbook? And that brings us to the most critical question of all. Is the Eagle II America's smartest weapon, or a relic fighting to stay relevant in an era it was never designed for? For over 5 decades, the F-15 has defied expectations. It wasn't supposed to last this long. It wasn't supposed to outpace newer, flashier jets. And yet, here we are. The F-15EX Eagle II stands as proof that sometimes brute force, relentless upgrades, and battlefield-proven designs can outlive the hype of next-gen promises. With unmatched speed, raw firepower, and new-age electronics woven into a familiar frame, the Eagle II is more than just a fighter. It's a statement that old legends can still dominate new battlefields. But the future is closing in fast. Stealth bombers like the B-21 Raptor are preparing for their combat debut. AI drones and autonomous fleets are rewriting how wars are fought. 6th-generation fighters, faster, stealthier, smarter, are lurking on the horizon. In that world, some say the F-15EX is a stopgap, a temporary shield while newer tech matures. Others argue it's a wise, battle-ready insurance policy, a jet that's ready now, with decades of reliability behind it. So the question isn't just whether the Eagle II can survive, but whether the U.S. military should bet on its proven strength, or gamble everything on untested, futuristic concepts. The Eagle II's legacy is undeniable, but its future? That's still wide open. What do you think? Will the Eagle II remain America's frontline workhorse for years to come? Or is its reign almost over, as 6th-generation fighters and autonomous systems take center stage? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into the F-15's evolution, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss our latest defense breakdowns. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.